Hello everybody, my name is Ryan and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining me today. Today is a very exciting day because I have a huge book haul. I have 3 large boxes stacked next to me on the ground that you cannot see currently. I will pan down in a second so that you can see, because there's no way that this girl is going to be able to lift them up and hold them for a thumbnail. They probably weigh as much as I do, so we're not going to do that. But I will go through what I got with you. And I did just want to throw in a quick disclaimer before this. I want to say that this and this is not normal. Okay? It is not normal. And it is excessive. I am aware. However, I will say that with making videos and things like that, it is a lot easier to talk about books, for me anyway. Maybe other people view this differently, but for me, I very much enjoy being able to hold up a physical book if I'm discussing it. There are books and things that I will read and take out from the library or things of that nature, and I'll pop up a picture instead at times. However, I am somebody who struggles a lot, and I know that there's other people like this as well, so that's why I want to talk about it. But like, I struggle a lot reading on my phone, on a Kindle, things like that, ebooks. I struggle a lot with that. And the same thing with audiobooks. I get motion sickness very easily. And for me, it's frustrating because I can only really listen to an audiobook in the car. Otherwise, I won't be paying attention to it and I'll like lose focus. But if I'm driving, right, I'm used to listening to music and things like that. But the focusing on what's happening a lot of the time will make me sick in the car. So there are times where I will try to do that, but a lot of the time it just doesn't really work out for me. So a lot of the reading that I have to do is physical books. And a lot of these books, other than the ones like behind me, is a lot of my special editions. There's not much here that's not a special edition. So there's that. But a lot of the books in my room I get off of secondhand stores and things like that. There are things that I get from Barnes & Noble. I am a Barnes & Noble member, but I find that I use secondhand websites like a lot more. So the haul today is literally from World of Books. Their website is wob.com, W-O-B.com. That's an online thrift store. Everything is secondhand. I think they do sell new books on there, like if you click new, but I don't do that. I just buy the used ones. And then the other 2 boxes are from Book Outlet, because they were having a big sale. And they are also like, they sell overstock books for really cheap prices. Like I think the most expensive book from Book Outlet that I got, well, they're having a fiction sale right now that is like $5.99 a book, so pretty much that. But yes, I did just want to throw that out there. This is not normal. This is what I like to do with my free time, is read. And I struggle with things that are not the physical book. There's something about it that doesn't work for me with like in other formats, and I really wish that I could be a Kindle girly and not have to deal not have to have the physical book. But if I'm gonna read it, a lot of the time it has to be physically. So that's basically where we're at. So that's the disclaimer. I just didn't want anybody to come on here and feel like what you're about to see is normal behavior, because it's not. I have plans for a lot of these books, potentially for videos and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that I got them physically, and I could get all of these secondhand, so why not, right? Right. So now that the disclaimer is out of the way, I hope you enjoy and maybe find something new that you would like to read. I don't know, maybe one of these will appear in as a book club pick for Patreon, because we do have a book club over there every month. So if you would like to be a part of that, you can head over to Patreon. The link for that is in the description. But get a drink. This one's probably going to be a little bit of a chunky one. And yeah, one more disclaimer that I want to say is a lot of these, I read the synopsis like one time and then it's just gone. So it's like I read the synopsis, was like, I really want that, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and then bought the book, and the synopsis has left my brain. And also, a lot of these, I think pretty much potentially all of the books from World of Books are translated fiction, and there will be a couple of those in the book outlet box as well. One of my favorite things, I love fantasy as a genre, which you can probably tell from the books that are behind me, but some of my favorite fiction in general, most of my favorite fiction in general, is things that have been translated. So yes, there's a lot of that on these shelves, not necessarily behind me, but all around my bedroom. Yeah, I think that that's all I have to say, and let's just get into the book haul, because that's why you're here. That is why you are here. Let's go. So this is the first box. Look at this thing. This is big. This is from World of Books. I don't know how many books I got from here. Maybe I should have that information, but I just don't. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. Let's break this bad boy open. Oh, I'm so excited. I love opening up new books. I love it so much. I love it. Okay, so right on top we have The Faculty of Dreams by Sarah Stridesberg. I've been wanting this book for a really long time. This one I do know is like a fictional retelling of Valerie Solanas, who is the person who assassinated Andy Warhol. This is a fictional story based on the real life person. So this book basically revisits and rebuilds the seedy hotel room where Solanas died, the factory in New York where she met Warhol, the Manhattan courtroom where she was tried and convicted of attempted murder, the Georgia wastelands where she spent her poverty-stricken childhood, and the mental hospitals in which she was interned. So this one has been on my list for a while, and I have just been really waiting to find it secondhand, and I think there was one copy that came up on World of Books, and I had to have it. I think that this was a nominee one year for the International Booker Prize, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it won, but I think it was. This is also translated from the Swedish by Deborah Bragen Turner. So come on, Deborah. Doing God's work out here, really. That is The Faculty of Dreams. I'm very excited. A little bit of a thick one, but the chapters are all like 1 or 2 pages, so I know that I'm gonna fly through this one, and I'm really hoping to get to it very, very soon. But that is book number 1. Up next is W, a novel by Steve Sem Sonberg. Looks like this. Beautiful cover. This is, who is the translator for this? Because I know that this is also translated, if I'm not mistaken. Also translated from the Swedish by Saskia Vogel. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This one, the blurb says here, and I am so sorry. I am so sorry for all of the pronunciation that is about to ensue in this video. Just block your ears and pretend it's not happening, because that's the only thing that's going to make all of us feel better, I fear. I'm so sorry for whatever is about to happen, but I already see names and things that I am not able to pronounce, but that's okay. It says, W, the astonishing new novel by August Prize winning author Steve Sem Sonberg, is a literary reimagining of one of modern literature's touchstone texts. The play Wojciech? I know that's wrong. I know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. Considered the first modern drama, it tells the story of a loyal soldier and survivor of the Napoleonic Wars who, in a fit of jealous rage, kills the woman he loves. In 1836, this true story inspired George Buchner to write the play, unfinished at his death at just 23 years old. W grippingly recounts the lovers' relationship, the murder case, and the soldier's execution. The story unfolds as the soldier, W, struggles to recount the events of his life. He grasps that understanding and experiences feelings of time and timelessness. He finds patterns and repetitions, but these are of no interest to those determining his fate. Sem Sandberg searched court archives to bring new light to this story, and he masterfully sustains a rich period atmosphere through poetic and controlled prose, down to the choice of pronouns, as the soldier is held at a cold distance in court proceedings when addressed with the formal capitalized you. Tell me that doesn't sound gripping as fuck. I want to read this immediately. And I will be making up the pronunciations in my head, because that's what we do. Kidding. I will look it up, but there is frankly, I'm so sorry, there's frankly way too many names and things that I would have to look up for this video. It's just not ever gonna work. Ever. It's never gonna work. You know what's next? A System So Magnificent It Is Blinding by Amanda Svensson. And this is translated by Nicola Smalley. Do we know what this is translated from? Because I would like to know. Is this translated from... Swedish! Look at that. But this is a huge book. I did not know that going into it. At all. And now I'm scared. I don't even remember what this is. It says, in October 1989, a set of triplets is born, and it is this moment their father chooses to reveal his affair. Pandemonium ensues. Over 2 decades later, Sebastian is recruited to join a mysterious organization, the London Institute of Cognitive Science, where he meets Laura Kadinsky, a patient whose inability to see the world in 3 dimensions is not the only thing about her that intrigues him. Meanwhile, Clara has traveled to Easter Island to join a doomsday cult, and the third triplet, Matilda, is in Sweden trying to escape from the color blue. Then something happens that forces the triplets to reunite. Their mother calls with worrying news. Their father has gone missing and she has something to tell them. A 25-year secret that will change all their lives. I remember reading that synopsis and knowing that I had to have it. However, coming in at a whopping over 500 pages, I'm slightly fearful for my life, but guys, it sounds so good. There's just something about a synopsis of a translated book that slaps every single time. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but they hit. They work. I'm so excited for that one. Next up, another one I'm very excited for is A Horse Walks Into a Bar by David Grossman. This was the winner of the Man Booker International Prize of 2017. And let's find out. This is translated from the Hebrew by Jessica Cohen. Look at this little book. It's so cute. This one was very intriguing. I went back and forth a little bit on whether I wanted to buy this or not, but basically I was sold. When I read, a comedy club in a small Israeli town, an audience has come expecting an evening of amusement. Instead, they see a comedian falling apart on stage, an act of disintegration, a man crumbling as a matter of choice before their eyes. Davala G, a veteran stand-up comic, charming, erratic, repellent, exposes a wound he has been living with for years, a fateful and gruesome choice he had to make between the 2 people who were dearest to him. Flaying alive both himself and the people watching him, Dov provokes revulsion and empathy from an audience that doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. And all this in the presence of a former childhood friend who is trying to understand why he's been summoned to this performance. I must know. I must know why. I need answers, and I need them now. This is quite a short one. However, the text is also a little bit small. I feel like this is one that I could get through very quickly, though. And I'm very happy that I have this in my hands now. Very excited about that one. The next one is one that's very intriguing to me. And that is The White Book by Han Kong. I will say that these have a lot of stickers on them, so like, you know, can't really see. But this was shortlisted for the Man Booker International Prize and is the author of The Vegetarian. This was also translated by, translated from the Korean by Deborah Smith. So we love that. I will read the little inside here because I think it sums it up quite well. It says, shortlisted for the 2018 Man Booker International Prize, Hong Kong's The White Book is a haunting lyrical meditation on the color white, as well as a fictional journey inspired by an older sister who died in her mother's arms a few hours old. The narrator grapples with the repercussions of this event and its echoes in her own life while at a writer's residence in snowy Warsaw. This is a very short book, and each little thing is 1 page. I wouldn't even call it a chapter. They're like little paragraphs, and there's a new one on practically every page. So I know I'm going to fly through this, and I was just very intrigued. I think I have 1 book by this author, not The Vegetarian, something else, but I cannot for the life of me remember what book it is. But I know that this will be short, and I'm very intrigued to finally get into her writing. Next up is another one that's quite exciting, and I don't really remember anything about, but it is the Copenhagen Trilogy by Tove Ditlevsen, something like that. This is 3 books in one, childhood, youth, and dependency. I don't know if it's like books or if they were kind of novella type situations, but this is them all put together, and it is like just under 400 pages, so like not extremely long. And the little paragraph about it says, following one woman's journey from a troubled girlhood in working class Copenhagen through her struggle to live on her own terms, Tove Ditlevsen's Copenhagen Trilogy is a searingly honest, utterly immersive portrayal of love, friendship, art, ambition, and the terrible lure of addiction from one of Denmark's most celebrated 20th century writers. So this is translated from the Danish by Tina Nunnally and Michael Favela Goldman. Oh, guys, it sounds so good. Yeah, it seems like each one is about 100 pages, give or take. Give or take a few. I also really like this cover. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird and wacky, but I kind of love it. I dig it. And I'm very excited about that one. I'm very excited about them all, by the way, and I will be saying that for every single one that I'm very excited about. Okay. Next up, this is one that intrigued me and I'm a little bit confused. But if there's one thing that I love, it is a thriller of sorts from another country. Okay, so like I read Confessions, and I can't remember what that was translated from, by Kane Minato. But wow, one of my favorite books of all time. And then she had another one, Penance, which I also really enjoyed, not as much as Confessions, but like really up there. And so when I read this synopsis, I was like, I must have. I need this. This is Box 21 by Rosalind Hellstrom. And the New York Times thing on the front says, a high-impact Swedish thriller. So I am so sorry. Say less. You know what I'm saying? Say so much less. Okay, so this looks like it's co-written. I thought Rosalind Hellstrom was the person's like name that they went by, but that's 2 people. Anders Rosalind and Borge Hellstrom. Okay, so who translated this? Who did it? I don't know that it's gonna tell me. It's not gonna tell me. I mean, this says originally published in Sweden. English translation originally published in Great Britain by Sphere as The Vault. But it doesn't show me the actual translator. Just that it's translated from Swedish. So if anybody knows that information, that would be greatly appreciated. But basically, the back says, 3 years ago, Lydia and Elena were 2 hopeful girls from Lithuania. Now they are sex slaves, lured to Sweden with the promise of better jobs, and then trapped in a Stockholm brothel. Suddenly, they are given an unexpected chance at freedom, and with it, the opportunity to take revenge on their enslavers and reclaim the lives and dignity they once had. What will happen now that the tables are turned and the victims fight back? Box 21 is a mind-blowing psychological thriller of the highest order. Sign me the fuck up. I I want to read about women attacking. I would love that. I hope they end them. I really hope they do. Now, the thing that I meant when I said that this was a little bit confusing was, I believe, is it on Goodreads? It may be on Goodreads that it says this. Somewhere I was looking this book up, and it was trying to tell me that it was part of a series. So that had me quite concerned. But now that I see this and it just says a novel and it doesn't say anything anywhere about it being in a series, I think I'm safe. But maybe if you guys know better than I do, you can tell me. I also really like this cover. I think it's very interesting. Okie dokie. Onwards and upwards, darlings. Okay, next up is Everything I Don't Remember by Jonas, I'm gonna guess. Scam's helping me out here. Jonas Hassan Kamiri. This is also the winner of the August Prize, which is Sweden's most prestigious literary honor. Slay, Jonas, slay. You can't, there you go, that's better. Let's see. Let us see who translated this bad boy. This is translated from Swedish by Rachel Wilson Broyles. Guys, what is all of this Swedish? Oh, you know, what is it called when they do like a little quote from somebody else before the book starts? This is actually iconic and maybe the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But this one says, "Oh Nana, what's my name? Rihanna." Can you see that? You see that shit? Look at that. That's actually maybe the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Wow. Okay. This says, a young man named Samuel dies in a horrible car crash. Was it an accident or was it suicide? To answer that question, an unnamed writer with an agenda of his own sets out to map Samuel's last day alive. Through conversations with friends, relatives, and neighbors, a portrait of Samuel emerges. The loving grandchild, the reluctant bureaucrat, the loyal friend, the contrived poseur? I don't fucking know. The young man who did everything for his girlfriend, Lade, and shared everything with his best friend, Vandad, until he lost touch with them both. So this seems to be a little bit of a deep dive into somebody's life from like the outside looking in, which I'm very excited about. And apparently it won Sweden's most prestigious literary honor, so shit's bound to be good. Jonas, don't let me down. Oh. This one is not a translation, but I am very excited about this one. This book won the Booker Prize of 2022, and this is Trust by Hernan Diaz. Come on now. I love this cover. I think it's great, and I'm so excited to dive into this. I've definitely known what this was about at one point in time and completely don't remember now. This says, even through the roar and effervescence of the 1920s, everyone in New York has heard of Benjamin and Helen Rask. He is a legendary Wall Street tycoon. She is the daughter of eccentric aristocrats. Together they have risen to the very top of a world of seemingly boundless wealth, all as a decade of excess and speculation draws to an end. But at what cost have they acquired their immense fortune? This is the mystery at the center of Bonds, a successful 1937 novel that all of New York seem to have read. Yet there are other versions of this tale of privilege and deceit. Give me more, Hernan. Give me more. I am so excited to get into this. Especially, I think if I read this soon, this will be the first Booker Prize winner. Oh, wait. No, this was not a winner. This is longlisted. It says longlisted under there. However, still a win, and such a privilege and honor to be longlisted for one of these. Incredible. But what I was saying before does stand. I don't think I've ever read a winner of the Booker Prize. So that would, maybe I should get on that. I don't really know. Up next is another great one. This is Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. I have read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Obviously, it was a 5 out of 5. One of the most beautiful things I've ever read in my entire life. And honestly, everybody should read it. Is this poetry? It looks to be that way. Yes, it is a poetry collection. And it says, how else do we return to ourselves but to fold the page so it points to the good part? In this deeply intimate second poetry collection, Ocean Vuong searches for life among the aftershocks of his mother's death, embodying the paradox of sitting within grief while determined to survive beyond it. Shifting through memory and in concert with the themes of his novel On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, Vuong contends with personal loss, the meaning of family, and the value of joy in a perennially fractured American spirit. Vivid, propulsive, and brave, Vuong's poems circle fragmented lives to find restoration as well as the epicenter of the break. This is a very short poetry collection. Less than 100 pages? Yes. Maybe just 100 pages? Right around there. I love Ocean Vuong's writing. It is so beautiful and poetic, one might say. But it's just, it transports me to another world when I read Ocean's writing. So I'm very excited to get to read something else by him. Just wonderful. Just wonderful you are. Great job, Ocean. Great job. Keep it going. Next up is the Trio by Johanna Hedman. There's something about this cover that I just want to eat up. I love it. I love it. This is translated by Kira Josefsson. And something tells me this is a Swedish book. I don't know. Hang on. Oh no, it's not saying what it's translated from. Okay, this does not say anywhere where it's translated from. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I feel like it may be Swedish though, which is something. This says, this is a very interesting one, and I think you can get a vibe, right, based on the title, The Trio. This says, Thora and August and Hugo. Each member of this unlikely trio comes from a different world. One a wealthy scion of the urban elite, one an art school dreamer, and one an ordinary boy from out of town. But over the course of 2 sky blue summers in Stockholm, they are drawn together magnetically. Years later, Hugo's living alone in New York and long since estranged from Thora and August when he receives an unexpected visit from their daughter. She has questions about her parents that she believes only Hugo can answer, and as he sits across the table from her, her clear blue eyes, so much like her father's, the memories of those luminous days come flooding back. This is giving Swedish book, right? I'm not making that up. Anyway, tell me that doesn't sound like the tea is about to be piping hot. I just know that there's going to be some juicy shit in this book, and I will be eating that up. I need to know. I need to know. Next up is Willful Disregard by Lena Anderson. This is translated from the Swedish by Sarah Death. Wow. I don't love this cover. It's giving like grocery store novel, like books that you will see in a grocery store. That's what it's giving, although it does look like it's going to be an extremely quick read. And it says a novel about love. It says, Esther Nilsson is a sensible person in a sensible relationship, until the day she's asked to give a lecture on famous artist Hugo Rask. The man himself in the audience, intrigued and clearly delighted by her fascination with him. When the two meet afterwards, she is spellbound. Esther's life becomes intrinsically linked to this meeting and the chain of events that unfolds. She leaves her boyfriend and throws herself into an imaginary relationship with Hugo. She falls deeply in love, and he consumes her thoughts. Indeed, in her own mind, she's sure that she and Hugo are a couple. Slowly and painfully, Esther comes to realize that her perception of the relationship is different from his. She's a woman who takes pride in having a rational and analytical mind, but in the face of her overpowering feelings for Hugo, she is too clever and too honest for her own good. Bitingly funny and darkly fascinating, Willful Disregard is a story about total and desperate devotion, and how willingly we betray ourselves in the pursuit of love. When I read this, it made me think of Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan, which I really, really liked, and seemed to tackle a similar situation. And I am very curious to see how that is done from a book that was originally written in Swedish. Goodness. Good shit. Up next is Amatka by Karen Tidbeck. Stunning cover. Let's see. This says it was originally published in Sweden, but I'm not seeing a translator on this, so that's something. No translator mentioned, which is upsetting. Oh, okay. She lives and works in Malmo as a freelance writer, translator, and creative writing teacher. Writes fiction in Swedish and English, so she must have just translated this herself, which is potentially one of the biggest slays I've ever seen in my entire life. And I found a book outlet thing in here, a code for $4 off, and this wasn't even from Book Outlet. That's so incredibly funny to me. Okay, I'll save that for later, because I must know if that code works. Okay, this is Welcome to Amatka, where everyone has a role, language has strange properties, and nothing, not even the very fabric of reality, can be taken for granted. Vanya SR2 is sent to the wintry colony of Amatka on an assignment to collect intelligence for the government. Dissent is not tolerated in Amatka, nor is romantic love, but Vanya nonetheless falls for her housemate Nina, a true believer in the colony's ways. But when Vanya is drawn into a resistance movement, she must choose between love and a revolution which promises liberation at the cost of tearing the world as they know it apart. It's dystopian. It's a Swedish dystopian. What more could you want? That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Come on, Amatka. Amatka, I need to know. Up next is The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. Now, Elena Ferrante is very interesting to me because I'm pretty sure nobody knows who Elena Ferrante actually is. But she has written so many books, and this is translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein. She has written the book My Brilliant Friend. I think that's a quartet of 4, and that is very, very famous. But this is one that I now own. And this just says, in this powerful new novel by Elena Ferrante, 14-year-old Giovanna is searching for her reflection in 2 kindred cities that fear and detest one another. Naples of the Heights, which wears a mask of refinement, and Naples of the Depths, a place of carnality and passion, where her guide is the unforgettable Aunt Vittoria. Here is another gripping, highly addictive Neapolitan story for one of the great novelists of our time. I just know that's going to eat. I just know it. I just know it. Have I ever read anything by Elena Ferrante? No. But I know that it's going to just kill it every single time. And the last book in this package from World of Books is Blackwater by Kirsten Ekman. This is a hefty looking book. This is the heaviest of them. Let's see. This is translated by Joan Tate, and what's it translated from? Stand By. First published in Sweden. Yeah. Maybe I'm just like, I'm supporting the Swedes. You know, what could be better or more fitting at this point in my life? This says, on Midsummer Eve 1974, Annie Raft arrives with her daughter Mia in the remote Swedish village of Blackwater to join her lover Dan on a nearby commune. On her journey through the deep forest, she stumbles upon the site of a grisly double murder, a crime that will remain unsolved for nearly 20 years, until the day Annie sees her grown daughter in the arms of the one man she glimpsed in the forest that eerie midsummer night. Okay, so this is a thriller again. This writing is so small. Yeah, that'll be the death of me. That will be the death of me. Guys, that's one box down. Let's get that out of here. And let's see. I'm going to put my phone over here. This is the smaller of the 2 book outlet boxes. And let's go ahead. Make sure my address is covered. You can't see where I live. I'm sorry. But no thank you. What is that? Oh, it's a mark. I felt that that was a wet spot. Up first, I see something I really am excited for. I I think you probably can guess it is a book translated from the Swedish by Deborah Brogan Turner, and it is The Antarctica of Love by Sarah Stridsberg. This is the author of Valerie, aka The Faculty of Dreams, the very first book we picked up. Same author, but sounded so great. This says, they say you die 3 times. The first time for me was when my heart stopped beating beneath his hands by the lake, and the second was when what was left of me was lowered into the ground in front of Ivan and Raksha at Brahma Church. The third time will be the last time my name is spoken on earth. That's all I'm leaving you with. There's a whole synopsis, but that's all I want to know. And I need to be getting into that immediately. Next up, oh my god, this is beautiful gold foil, and I was not expecting this at all, is Wednesday's Child by Yiyun Lee. This is the author of the Book of Goose, and this is a short story collection. I love that that's foil. I thought it just was a big gold or orangey looking blob. This says, a grieving mother makes a spreadsheet of everyone she's lost. Elsewhere, a professor develops a troubled intimacy with her hairdresser. And every year, a restless woman receives an email from a strange man twice her age and several states away. In the stories of Wednesday's Child, people strive for an ordinary existence until doing so becomes unsustainable. While the surface cracks and the grand mysterious forces, death, violence, estrangement, come to light. Even before such moments, everyday life is laden with meaning, studded with indelible. Why did that just not work in my brain there? Jesus, calm it down. A filched jar of honey, a mound of wounded ants, a photograph kept hidden for many years until it must be seen. I am so intrigued to get into these stories and figure out what exactly they mean. I need to know. I want to get more into short story collections. I've had a couple recently, so I just need to read them, honestly, but that's Wednesday's Child. Up next is If I Survive You by Jonathan Escoffery. Looks like this. I believe, is this nonfiction? I think it may be. I think this may be nonfiction, and this is not a translated book. So I fear we are moving away from those a little bit. I'm sure there will be more that pop up, but at the moment, no. This says, in the 1970s, Topper and Sonia flee to Miami as political violence consumes their native Kingston. But America, as the couple and their 2 children learn, is far from the promised land. Excluded from society as black immigrants, the family pushes on through Hurricane Andrew and later the 2008 recession, living in a house so cursed that the pet fish launches itself out of its own tank rather than stay. But even as things fall apart, the family remains motivated, often to its own detriment, by what the younger son, Trelawney, calls the exquisite, raking compulsion to survive. I need to read this. It looks like a fairly quick read, so maybe I'll get to this one soon, but I love the cover a ton. Next up is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is a memoir. I read Ghosts for either the April or May Patreon pick, which is one of her novels. And I really enjoyed it. So this is just a memoir about her life, short and sweet, and I think like more like her teenage years or growing up or whatever. Next up is a very exciting one. This is Diary of a Void by Emi Yagi. This is translated by David Boyd and Lucy North from the Japanese. Very exciting. This is so tiny and so cute. Like, for example, next to this paperback, that's a paperback. This is a hardcover. How cute. I definitely will be able to read this one super quick. Oh my god, it's so cute. This is her debut. Wow. This says, when 34-year-old Miss Shibata gets a new job in Tokyo to escape sexual harassment at her old one, she finds that as the only woman at her new workplace, a company that manufactures cardboard tubes for paper towel and toilet paper rolls, she is expected to do all the menial tasks. One day, she announces that she can't clear away her coworkers' dirty cups because she's pregnant, and the smell nauseates her. The only thing is, Miss Shibata is not pregnant. Pregnant Miss Shibata doesn't have to serve coffee to anyone. Pregnant Miss Shibata isn't forced to work overtime. Pregnant Miss Shibata rests, watches TV, takes long baths, and even joins an aerobics class for expectant mothers. She is finally being treated by her colleagues as more than a hollow core, but she has a 9-month ruse to keep up. Before long, it becomes all-absorbing, and with the help of towels, stuffed shirts, and a diary app that tracks every stage of her pregnancy, the boundary between her lie and her life begins to dissolve. I was really excited when I first heard about this book because it sounds like something that is gonna stress me out, but in a very interesting way. And I cannot wait to dive into this. It's so little. It's so cute for no reason. We have The Trouble with Happiness and Other Stories by Tove Ditlevsen, the author of the Copenhagen trilogy from before. Similar cover. Very interesting. This is translated by Michael Favala Goldman. And yeah, these are just some short stories, so I'm not really going to get into it. It just says a newly married woman longs irrationally for a silk umbrella, a husband chases away his wife's beloved cat, a betrayed mother impulsively sacks her housekeeper. Little tales like that. Sounds very interesting. And the last book in this one is Either Or by Elif Bauteman. This is the author of The Idiot, if you have heard of it. I have that book, have not yet read it. This is not a translated work, I don't believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, I am correct. This says, Selin is the luckiest person in her family, the only one who was born in America and got to go to Harvard. Now it's sophomore year, 1996, and Selin knows she has to make it count. The first order of business, to figure out the meaning of everything that happened over the summer. Why did Selin's elusive crush Ivan find her that job in the Hungarian countryside? What was up with all those other people in the Hungarian countryside? Why is Ivan's ex-girlfriend now trying to get in touch with her? On the plus side, it feels like the plot of an exciting novel. On the other hand, why do so many novels have crazy abandoned women in them? How does one live a life as interesting as a novel? A life worthy of becoming a novel without becoming a crazy abandoned woman oneself. That, yes. Yes, that sounds like exactly what I want. Thank you so much. That's exactly, thank you. I will be signing up for that. Thank you. Okay, that is one box. Another box down. And then that just leaves us with the last box. Like this, okay? And you know what else? Absolutely ridiculously falling apart. That's what else. So, do with that what you will. We have In These Hallowed Halls. This is a dark academia anthology. It just has a bunch of short stories by different authors like Olivia Blake, M.L. Rio, Susie Yang, David Bell, J.T. Ellison, and so many more. Very excited to get into this. I'm definitely going to go into this one a little bit blind. Just knowing dark academia will be ensuing for that one. Let us see what is next. Oh, Stephen King's Holly. I always look on Book Outlet for Stephen King's like new books because I can always find them very cheap on there, and I am a Stephen King girly, so I love Holly. She was originally in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, so I'm very excited to read this book by her. I think she's popped up in a couple others that I haven't read yet, but I knew I could get this really cheap there, so I just picked it up in this order because why the heck not? Next up is a very exciting one. This is The List by Yomi Adeyoki. Is this translated? I feel like I'm remembering it was, but I don't think it is. I think she might be British. I get a lot of my translated recommendations from Jack Edwards. Is that his name? I think so. And so anytime, I think I saw this on his channel a long time ago. So anytime I get something from his channel, I just assume it's translated. Oh, look at her. She's stunning. Jesus. Okay, queen, pop the fuck off. Anyway, this one I have been wanting for a very, very long time. This just says, I'll read the little top. It says, in this sensational page-turning debut novel, a high-profile female journalist's world is upended when her fiancé's name turns up in a viral social media post. A nuanced, daring, and timely exploration of the real-world impact of online life. It's a list of allegations, you know, not great allegations, and her fiancé's name is on it. So I must know. I need to know the tea. We have another little short novel by Tove Ditlevsen, the author of the Copenhagen trilogy. This is called The Faces, and this is translated by Tina Nunnally. Very short, very short. This just says it's a searing, haunting novel of a woman on the edge, portrayed with all of the vividness of lived experience. Did we determine that this is like Swedish? Is that what we determined? Danish. Danish. Thank you, Tove. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Next up is Mona by Paula Aliero. Translated by Adam Morris. This is translated from the Spanish by Adam Morris. I don't know how I feel about the cover, if I'm being honest. I kind of like it, but it's also unnerving, and I don't know that I do. This says, Mona, a Peruvian writer engaged in a downward spiral of substance abuse and erotic distraction in California, presents a tough and sardonic exterior. Aware that she has something of an anthropological curiosity at her university, a woman writer of color treasured for the flourish of rarefied diversity she brings. She pokes fun at and exploits American academic culture and its fixation on identity. When she is nominated for the most important literary award in Europe, Mona trades the temptations of California for a small gray village in Sweden. I'm not escaping Sweden in this haul. Now she is stuck in the company of all her jet-lagged and mostly male competitors, arriving from Japan, France, Armenia, Iran, and Colombia. Isolated as they are, the writers do what writers do: exchange compliments, nurse envy and private resentments, stab rivals in the back, and hop in bed together. All the while, Mona keeps stumbling across the mysterious traces of a violence she cannot explain. As her adventures in Scandinavia unfold, Mona finds that she has not so much escaped her demons as locked herself up with them in the middle of nowhere. Yes. Come on, Mona. Come on, Mona. Tell me more. And next up, we have Strega by Johan Lickholm. This is translated by Saskia Vogel, I believe, a Swedish book. Yes, this is a Swedish book, Strega. This says, with toiletries, hairbands, and notebooks in her bag, a 19-year-old girl leaves the seaside town she grew up in. Out the train window, Rafa sees the Olympic Hotel perched above the small village of Strega, where she and 8 other girls move into their shared dorm as seasonal workers. They toil constantly, but no guests arrive. Instead, they contort themselves to strict expectations, finding solace together in their spare moments, and when the hotel is finally filled for a wild party, one of them disappears. What follows are deeper revelations about the myths we teach young women, what we raise them to expect from the world, and whether a gentler, more beautiful life is possible. Yes, I love to read about... I love to read about missing women, but that's not what I meant to say. At all, that's not what I meant to say. But you know what? Sometimes things just happen. Next up is Toad by Catherine Dunn. This cover is actually one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. I think I saw somebody, Sid, from Sid Bookworm, get this, and it sounded maybe interesting, if I'm remembering correctly. This says, Sally Gunner has withdrawn from the world. She spends her days alone at home, reading drugstore mysteries, polishing the doorknobs, waxing the floors. Her only companions are a vase of goldfish, a garden toad, and the door-to-door salesman who sells her cleaning supplies once a month. She broods over her deepest regrets, her blighted romances with self-important men, her lifelong struggle to feel at home in her own body, and her wayward early 20s. when she was a fish out of water among a group of eccentric, privileged young people at a liberal arts college. There was Sam, an unabashed collector of other people's stories, Carlotta, a troubled free spirit, and Rennell, a self-obsessed philosophy student. Self-deprecating and sardonic, Sally recounts their misadventures up to the tragedy that tore them apart. I need to know. I need to know. You already know that I need to know, but I need to know. I need to know stat. Next up is The Shattered City by Lisa Maxwell. This is the 4th book. The first book is The Last Magician, so I'm not really going to get into any of this, but it is, I believe, a fantasy story. This is the 4th one. I have the first 3. Had to get the 4th. Saw it on Book Outlet for next to nothing. Had to pick it up. Same thing goes for this, Lachlan's by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the 3rd book. The first book is Foundry Side, another fantasy type story. I believe this is a trilogy. Had to get into that one. Definitely look it up. It sounds incredible. I think it's about assassins, that one. So honestly, what more could you ask for? You know what I'm saying? This one is interesting. This is Julia. It is a retelling of George Orwell's 1984, and I absolutely love the cover of this. So, I mean, do we need to get into 1984? I don't know. But basically, this is an imaginative, feminist, and brilliantly relevant retelling of Orwell's 1984 from the point of view of Winston Smith's lover, Julia. So in 1984, Julia goes on a lot of adventures that we just don't get to see or hear about. So I'm curious to see if this dives into some of that or if it's going to be like a whole different type of journey. Very excited about this one. This is another one I'm extremely excited about. My cover is a little bit ripped, but you know what? I'll get over that. This is The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. Did this win the Booker Prize this year or nominee potentially? This is an extremely thick book. It's definitely over 500, potentially. This is 600 pages. This says, the Barnes family is in trouble. Dickie's once lucrative car business is going under, but Dickie is spending his days in the woods, building an apocalypse-proof bunker with a renegade handyman. His wife, Imelda, is selling off her jewelry on eBay and half-heartedly dodging the attention of fast-talking cattle farmer Big Mike, while their teenage daughter, Cass, formerly top of her class, seems determined to binge drink her way through her final exams. As for 12-year-old PJ, he's on the brink of running away. If you want to change the story, how far back would you have to go? To the infamous bee sting that ruined Imelda's wedding day? To the car crash 1 year before Cass was born? All the way back to Dickie at 10 years old, standing in the summer garden with his father, learning how to be a real man? Yeah, I need to know this. I need to. There's something about this book that has, like, haunted me ever since I first saw it and read the synopsis, and I don't know. There's something about this that I really feel like is gonna really work for me. So I'm praying that it does once I finally get to it, because look at this shit. I'm sorry. And the last book is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You've all seen it. You have all seen it. Is this Ted Bundy's victims? It's a fictional story, but it's like giving, I believe, Ted Bundy's victims like their own story. This says, from the mega best-selling author of Luckiest Girl Alive comes a remarkable story inspired by the real-life sorority targeted by America's first celebrity serial killer. Maybe it wasn't Ted Bundy. I'm making shit up. I am making shit up. But maybe something. It says, January 15th, 1978 is a night of promise. A serial killer's escape in Aspen, Colorado couldn't be further from the minds of the busy young women at the top sorority on Florida State University's campus in Tallahassee. Sorority president Pamela Schmelcher spends her Saturday night glued to her desk, cradling her textbook like a pillow. Startled awake at 3 a.m. by a strange sound, she makes the fateful decision to investigate. What she finds outside her bedroom door is a scene of implausible violence. 2 of her sisters dead, 2 others maimed. It is the final murderous spree of the man the papers will soon dub the all-American sex killer. But Pamela doesn't know this yet, nor does she know the story of 25-year-old Ruth Wachowski, who 4 years earlier disappeared from Seattle's Lakes Sammamish State Park in broad daylight, confounding police and shattering Ruth's roommate and best friend Tina Cannon. Yes, please. I've been seeing this everywhere. I had thought about getting this for a really long time, and I was like, no, but like every time I see it, I read the synopsis and I'm like, maybe, and then it was on Book Outlet, so I was like, okay, you're coming home with me. you are coming in with me. So that is all of the books that I have got. Thank you so much for joining me for this book haul. Again, I know it's not normal. I will say though, this is the first time that I have bought books this year. Yeah, it definitely is. Other than like the things that I'm subscribed to. Like I'm subscribed to Fairy Loot and Illumicrate, but like this is the first time this year that I have went and placed books in a cart and bought them for myself. So it is a bit of a bigger book haul than normal for me, but I'm very, very excited to dive into these books and let you guys know my thoughts and feelings. Let me know if there's any books that you're especially curious about, and maybe I will use your comments in a video. Maybe, just maybe. So make sure you leave them down below and let me know if you are interested in picking up any of these after hearing me speak about them. I would be very interested to know, and who knows, maybe we could read them together. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much once again for watching this with me, and I will see you guys back here with me for another video. Bye guys!